Awesome. Good afternoon. Welcome to Wellness Wednesday. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, I'm Beth Copeland with Georgia Christian Business Network, and we are putting God back in business. I'm so excited because I love Wellness Wednesdays and an opportunity to bring you great topics, and today is no different. I will let you know from the start, we're missing Pamela Bridgeman Bartell today. She's out celebrating with her granddaughter. Graduated Sydney from high school yesterday. So congratulations, Sydney, and congratulations to Pamela, her parents, the entire family. So we'll miss her today, but we've got this because guess what? Guess who's back? Rich Oswald. We're so excited. You're here, Rich. He is so awesome. We're going to miss you, Rich. We're going to have some special opportunities for you guys to get on here and to share a couple of things, and that's upcoming. But today, what I'd like to do, Rich and Pamela, are corporate sponsors of Georgia Christian Business Network. They undergird our vision to put God back in business, and it's just a pure blessing. And what I'd like to do is allow Rich to introduce himself, and even to, in the process of doing so, once you've completed that, maybe kind of recap briefly or to whatever extent what we've talked about this month here on Wellness Wednesday.
Absolutely. And my name is Rich Oswald. As Beth said, I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia and the state of Wisconsin. So the big old deal, but that's where we're moving. For those of you who don't know, I'm going to be taking a job at the Mayo Clinic up in Eau Claire. So we will be relocating, and Wellness Wednesday will happen with me probably through June. But then after that, we're going to probably figure out how to make that visits happen. I'll be working during the day, so it won't be quite as convenient. But for the last 9 years, we've operated Legacy Counseling Center in Snellville, Georgia, a little town east of Atlanta, not so little anymore. I work with individuals, couples, families, helping them with current issues of communication and a variety of other things, parenting and such, or longer term things with individuals and couples that really keep them stuck in loops, and they can't seem to figure out what in the world is going on, and they don't know what to do to move forward. So at the beginning of that, I will be virtual through June, and my just to plug my wife too. She started the business with me, but she's going to be doing some coaching. So what does she call it? Real Conversations, Christian and Life Coaching. So you can reach out to her. Yeah, I remember her email right now, but she's awesome. She has a master's in marriage and family therapy and been doing pastoral counseling and discipling and other sort of forms of spiritual direction and buzzwords that capture her heart. So throw that out there. Hit me up if I can't remember her email off the top of my head. It's good. We'll get it. I might post it on Facebook. So we'll be good. But over the past few weeks, May has been kind of the celebration since we're kind of ending school years for people, whether it's even just grade schools or high school, maybe bigger transitions or college, grad school, all those things. We also looked at this business opportunities and personal growth opportunities, and what have we learned when graduating, thinking back over the last certain period of time. What have we learned? Reflecting back, and I remember exactly how Pamela phrased it, but we've picked different things. She has cool ways of saying stuff, and my brain works in different ways. And
that's sunset, sunrise. Yeah.
Sunset, sunrise. So speaking of what we learned in the graduation first weeks, you can go back and check that out. Some good conversations, and then celebration. How do we really take advantage and take pleasure and celebrate what we've done, what God's done, and what things we've learned and how we've moved forward. And then last week was Revelation. What do we gain? What have we learned? And how do we apply that to our life moving forward, and really intersecting the past with the present and the future, and kind of all the realms of counseling with the coaching of the forward thinking part of helping people out. So, and this week, Beth's super stoked about it, and message for the year for GCBN, and one of Beth's, I think, passions of places that ties into her life and coaching and all is elevation. So we're moving up. And you have a cool thing, Bourne Elevation. Every time you were saying that last week, I kept thinking of Jason Bourne, the movie series, Bourne Identity and all, and it's spelled differently. This is birth, born, B-O-R-N.
This is good, B-O-R-N. I facilitated this learning for the NACWE group, the National Association of Christian Women Entrepreneurs, on this yesterday, and then last Tuesday we had a great opportunity for Bourne elevating through embracing your see, I'm getting it all twisted, but it was about I want to say elevation through embracing confidence in your Bourne identity. And of course, as Rich said, Bourne was an acronym, and about, and
as we don't know, Beth
that
does all the time.
Yeah. All the time. I know God just deals with me like that. And it makes a lot of sense. I tried to push back on it for years. And my son was telling me once, Mom, this acronym stuff, but I had to, and I tried, but I think it's God. I know it's God, because I couldn't in my own right come up with this stuff. But one of the things, Rich, you mentioned is it is a passion for me. And when you said that, it just really just sent warmth over my body, that somebody recognizes that, this is a passion for me. This particular topic is elevation and helping people to be able to experience that. And you even tied it into my coaching, which is something we talked about beforehand. And I'm pretty sure I'll do what I was sharing with you. Get back to that, because you can't get away from it. And I enjoy it. And when it's a passion, it's as if you do it for fun, although we need to get paid for what we do. It's a servant is worthy of his hire. But the opportunity today, as we look at Pamela's outline, and this is, as Rich already told us, she titled it Elevation. How will you pursue your path? And the only way that I know to pursue it is to get back to the basics, if you will, because things happen, Rich, along the path of life. You agree that we start off maybe, as James Brown used to say, on the good foot. We do it on the good foot. And then all of a sudden, things happen and there's a turn, and we're have difficulty. And that's why, to get back on the right path. And that's one of the important reasons that I'm so excited about Wellness Wednesday. I do have to pause for a second to say my heart is in Texas right now, not just because of Jessica. I love her, she's dear to me, but for the families that have suffered such a great loss. My heart goes out to you, on behalf of Georgia Christian Business Network, our sponsors, our members, our community. Just know that we are in deep prayer, and this has just been a moving day of prayer for me, just asking God for his mercy and grace. And even when I sent out the message of the reminder, I put something in there, and I capitalized all caps is. And I said, this is the year of elevation. And I wanted to say this is still the year of elevation. It brings me to what I'm thinking of Wellness Wednesday and the value of this platform, because when things happen, as the tragedy that transpired yesterday over in what is it, Uvalde? How do you pronounce that, Rich?
Yeah, Texas, I don't know if it's a Hispanic or Spanish pronunciation or not.
Okay,
I don't know how you pronounce it.
But anyway, in Texas, and you all know what we're talking about. It was devastating, and you know how you felt. I know how I felt, and we didn't have a family member there. And so that lets me know that we still have compassion here on earth. That's a good thing, that we have compassion. We don't have to be directly impacted to experience compassion for others. That is a very, very good thing. And so what we do is we intercede on their behalf and lend helping hands as the opportunities present themselves. So I wanted to put that out there to know that we are very sensitive to what's happening, and also creating a greater case for a Wellness Wednesday platform. This is unique, Rich, what we do, is bringing mental wellness to masses virtually. This is of God, you all. This is totally, totally of God. And so today we're talking about pursuing, how will you pursue your path? How do you go forward from here? We talked about the graduation, the relevation, I forget, celebration, I think.
Celebration, revelation, elevation.
Right. Okay. So we talked about that. But now, as she said, sunset, sunrise. I love that, because sometimes the sun sets. But what we look to expectantly is the opportunity for the sun to rise. And elevation is a great opportunity for that. And the way that we've been defining it, and as Rich said, we're embracing it here for the entire year at Georgia Christian Business Network, is a continual ascension in your mind, elevating your thoughts and aligning your feet to follow those thoughts. And when you look at elevation from that perspective, you have such a great opportunity to experience elevation continuously. It's when we make the choice, Rich, to determine that we don't have to think the way that we think. There are alternatives to this. There are options, there are choices that I have. And one scripture that I'd like to say to you right now is to embrace your born identity. And as Rich said, you think immediately of the Born series. And one thing that I recall, and it's been a while, I'm rusty on him, with Jason Bourne and the Bourne series, but he was always trying to learn more of who he was, to get in contact and with his identity. Was that correct? Would that say something?
Yeah. It's the start of the series. He's found in the water and he doesn't know who he is. So yeah,
right.
that is fantastic part
of
it.
At some right. So say that again. It's
kind of a fantastic sort of brief little analogy, but yeah, I associate words with things. So I love the BORN we're really talking about is even more powerful.
I'm glad this is of God. It's totally of him. But the thing that I think would put it in context for what we're talking about today would be the scripture that I'm going to read, because I believe, and I need your help and support on this, Rich, and those of you that are joining us on Facebook live stream, please chime in. And if you're comfortable, come over here and join us on Zoom. We'd love that. But a lot of us are still yet wondering, who are we really? And the question, as Jason Bourne was trying to find the answers to that, I believe are already given to us in Isaiah 49. And I'm just going to read a couple of scriptures here. And of course, I'm reading from the King James. I really, really meant to look it up from another translation. But it says, "Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, you people from afar. The Lord hath called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of me. And he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword in the shadow of his hand. And he has hid me and made me a polished shaft. Okay, in his quiver hath he hid me, and said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified." The whole purpose of why I want to use that as our primary scripture to talk through today, so that we can get in contact with our born identity. From birth, God called us. from birth, God named us. And I know you're saying, Beth, well, my parents gave me my name. And I believe that there's meaning in the name that you were given. Have you ever done any research on your name, Rich?
Yeah, well, I think way back when I was young, my mom got a plaque that had Richard on it, and I think it reflects a bit back to King Richard of the English part of the confident leader, that sort of thing. I don't remember exactly, and it's been a while, but that's kind of what I remember: warrior, leader, that sort of.
Wow. Well, I'm
So,
Elizabeth,
yeah.
and oak from God. But one of the things that happened is, and Jeremiah 1:5 also speaks to the opportunity that we were shaped and formed in our mother's womb. And what is important is that we understand from the beginning that God said that from the womb, out of the womb, we were sanctified and we were ordained as a prophet unto nations. What I have to say at this point is God has a plan and each of us are a part of it. But what happened to the plan that God intended for my life, for your life? What happens along the way, I believe, is a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff gets in the way. And so what the born system that God has given me, the B, beliefs, and let me just tell you the four opportunity. It's a system, it's a methodology that God has he birthed this through me. He gave me a download and four opportunities for it to reset, if you will, in order that we can experience greater levels of revelation in our lives, is that we need to reset our belief system, our operating system, our regulating system, and our navigating system. Those four opportunities need to become aligned with what God says about us. And the belief system is basically nothing but the mindset. If you want to know, well, how do I go from here? What is the next, what is my next? You can determine that through adjusting your mindset to align with what God says about you. When you understand that what God believed from the beginning, that he called you by name. A lot of us are answering to names that God never intended for us to be called.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I definitely love this acronym and belief system. I take it even further when I'm working with people. It's mindset. And that's a common sort of term for perspective on things and what we're basing our life on. I take the belief system is sort of even beyond the mindset. It's a mindset that I think the mindset is driven by an even deeper idea of, I'd say the belief system is the word or description I use. And it's our very innate current perspective on all the things of life, our value, relationships, purpose, direction. I think I might have said meaning of life, purpose. So there's all that, but it's based way down in, and the intellect can reflect some of that. As I think but it's out of the belief system that our mindset comes. And if we even do cognitive behavioral therapy, takes a look at this, that there's some of the idea is there's these thoughts that automatic negative thoughts, but there's thoughts that just maybe pop through our mind and we may not even completely pay attention to it, but what we notice is a change in our emotion, right? We might get sad or scared or whatever, or angry or happy or something. And part of the process is catching those thoughts and analyzing what just happened? What did I just say? So there's describing sort of the mindset, but those thoughts aren't really into forefront of our mind. That we take it even farther and look at a core belief system of that. And You're right. It's established over time. It's established through how we grow up. And it is a change in mindset to continue. And it's more even just than a reset, Beth. I continue more look at it as it's a remodeling, maybe as a good analogy to it. If we're setting a building on a foundation, that's one thing, but we're remodeling or shoring it up or addressing faults, cracks, weakness, looseness. We really have to go down there and remodel that and renovate the belief system. And that's critical. I work with people. That is kind of one of my main focuses is what do you really believe? And if we don't pause and examine it, we're going to be, I think, a lot of times stuck. And you might see this in coaching clients too.
Yeah.
A lot of coaches talk about the roadblocks to that, which is then looking at, well, you have a thought process, but what is blocking you from embracing a healthier thought process? And those are what I play around with too. I just might say them a little differently than roadblocks. I might even say them as survival responses. I mean, that we've developed beliefs about ourselves and the environment that we've used to survive the way we experienced life up to that point. And then you take more recent experiences and you can challenge those ideas that the belief system's based on and your survivor is based on, and realize, wait a minute, maybe this is different, right? Like God thinks about us in a way that we may not have accurately bought onto. It is, when I think of belief, you come to the analogy, I think we've talked about it, the tightrope walker and the difference between, do you really believe or do you just intellectually understand the concept? And the brief story in that, it's kind of describing, do we really believe in God? And it's tightrope walker is going to take walk across the tightrope and come back. And he's a crowd watching him. And he said, how many people believe I can walk across it back? And everybody cheers. We all believe what he does it, walks across back. And he says, how many people believe I can take this wheelbarrow across and back with me? Everybody cheers. He takes it there and back again. And okay, how many people believe I can take a person in the wheelbarrow? Everybody cheers. And then he says, okay, who wants to get in? And there's silence, right? So when you talk about belief system, right, they intellectually believed and conceptually believed and even saw it, witnessed it, but when it came to trusting in it, their belief system was really exposed and they'd have to deal with it. And that's part of this whole process of life. And it's why I like you're born being started on that belief. It's critical, because if you, your next three are sort of emphasized on that, right? Operating. Well, you're going to operate out of belief. You're going to regulate out of belief. You're going to navigate out of the belief system. So without
Rich,
more monologue.
Rich, help me write this book. You get it. You get it. You get it. I love it. This is so awesome. And yes, what I said to the ladies, we have to eradicate the foundation. I mean, there's no way you could have known this, because we actually are rebuilding our belief system. And it's based, and when I said reset, yeah, I hear you. Elevate me. And this is all about elevating. And I know someone's probably said, I thought they were going to tell me about how to elevate. Well,
we
it
are,
starts,
for sure.
It's foundationally. And thank you. The ladies embraced it at NACWE this week because I thought, now they're going to think I'm going to come in here and talk about confidence and all of this. And it is important. And it is a piece of this. However, what's more important is establishing a foundation that allows you, that prepares you, that gives you the bandwidth and the fortitude to be able to elevate. Because
well, you may think of it this way.
Please.
To add on to what you were just saying, you do the reset as a possible description of it too. And we're talking about foundation. and elevating, we lay a foundation. It's talking about this belief system idea, and it appears to have strength and support and be able to hold things. So we build, we elevate, right? We're taking the structure up farther, and maybe we get to a point in that, and now the sudden the structure isn't very stable, right? It's the leaning tower of Pisa thing. We got so high, and whoa, wait a minute, yikes, I don't want to be on the top floor. There's a whole lot of movement up here. I don't really like it. So then it's okay, if I'm going to keep elevating, well, part of me has to go back and realize, wait a minute, maybe what I'm built on isn't as strong as what I need to go higher, right? To build higher. So we're recognizing I've gotten to this height, but maybe to go further, I need to adjust some things. So it feels like we're going backwards. Sometimes people say, why do I need to look at the past in order to go to the future? Well, it's, to be think about it this way, it may be helpful to recognize we're have to do both. There's so many parallels in the real world, the physical world, that we can see to the spiritual, relational, emotional, intellectual, soul area of life as well. So I like to try to bring concrete, pun not intended, but works, bring concrete examples into the process.
Exactly, because what it does, it allows people to be able to get that have that way of processing, a more visual embrace of what we're talking about, because sometimes words just are flying, and people can't really grasp. And I'm so excited. I'm not kidding. You really got this, And
this is where I play almost all the time. Is it's deeper, because if we just run with mindset, right, it's somewhat talking about, I don't want to downplay it. It is incredibly important because it affects the choices we make.
Right.
The mindset, and thinking, continuing the analogy, sometimes is a particular floor, right? What's the thought process? What's the design of that floor? Right? So we continue to go up. What's the plan for the next level? And architecturally, mindset wise, we're going to do this. This is amazing. This is wonderful. Here's the improvements. This floor is going to be better than the previous floor, and decorations and experience and all that's going to be much better. Awesome. But remember that floor is moving around now.
Yeah.
So the design for the floor is great. And it doesn't necessarily mean the design has to radically change, but you do have to go, wait a minute, I can't build this stably on what is going on deep down inside. So there is a pause in that.
Because it will crush, it will collide, the building will crumble.
In a lot of ways.
The collapse. My father was, my late father was in construction as well. And you can help me with this. But what I recall from him is that in order to put a huge, tall structure, you got to go deep for that foundation. And if there's a crack, like you said, that thing is eventually over time going to impact the quality of that building. And over time, it will cause it to be able to crumble.
Yeah, you can even tell, like, your mindset or what you're built on will evidence itself at some point in the future, right? You have that built on a sand, Jesus's analogy, right, of the house built on a rock versus, I think it was Jesus, right? Or is it somebody else?
Peter.
Peter build a house on the rock, and this way build a house on the sand, and it washes away.
Oh, no. You're talking about a story. Yeah.
A parable.
Parable.
Jesus parable.
Forgive me. It is. Okay. Go ahead.
So that if people built those two houses, the houses look great and they're stable initially, but the parable goes on to say when the rain comes, right, the deeper foundation makes itself known, because the one house doesn't move and the other house gets washed away.
Right.
Recognizing as we're going through life and we're elevating, that part of the elevation, we're talking about the graduation, celebration, revelation, elevation, right? We're graduating, we're celebrating where we've come from, and we're revelating on, okay, where am I going? What do I need? And I always think of, what do I learn? What do I need to change? Right? How do we put these pieces together? In order to go higher, I have to understand more of that. That the thought process, like even people, I think, kind of, we talk about nervous breakdown, we talk about increased anxiety, right, stress, those sorts of things. I think that's part of possible revealing the deeper down beliefs, right? Like even just the modern culture, all this crazy that's going on, and the instability, right? It's the rain coming down, and it can sometimes, it's revealing some of our belief system. And are we, are we founded on something that's stable, that the rain is coming and it's no fun? I don't like necessarily want to be outside in the thunderstorm and high winds and tornado, hurricane kind of experiences. Could be fun in some ways, but I don't necessarily want to stay out there, and I want to go into a place that's safe. So rain is going to come. When I go into my house, what is it established on? And if it's moving and shaking, we really need to consider what's going on. Because if I'm inside a stable house, I'm okay, even though it's raining and storming outside a lot. So this, keeping that in mind too, that it's rain's coming. That parable is an extreme.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's making an extreme
Matthew
point,
something.
right. And
yeah.
it's like Jesus parallels can be extremes. And I don't think that it's not a once and done shot, because if it was, it's like, well, you built your house on the wrong thing, so now your life's going to fall apart. You have no chance to establish it on something more stable. It's just not possible. And that's not true. That's what we're talking about elevating. If we go back and recognize, wait a minute, the house is looking really good, but the foundation is a little messed up.
Exactly.
You got to look at that. I mean, and there's houses with bad foundations in the concrete world, literally concrete, and sometimes not. But you can stabilize that house by digging a trench around the house and building a foundation underneath it. So now the house is setting on something much stronger than it was before. We didn't destroy the house. We might have upset some of the things in the house, right?
But we didn't destroy it.
It was out of level and plumb, and we didn't necessarily completely realize it, or we couldn't change it. Why? Because it doesn't matter how much you try to move the walls. If the house is crooked because the foundation's got it a little wonky, it's going to be out of plumb all the time. We have to go, wait a minute, the house is fine, but it's out of plumb, and I can't hang things on it. Rolling the ball across the floor is pretty awkward. I tend to walk a little crooked here. Whatever other parts of the analogy you can add to it.
And Rich,
we get frustrated. Go back to the foundation.
The good thing that you're sharing is that the house could be saved, and it doesn't have to be completely demolished. And that's what I want to interject here. We're still on belief system. We got to move forward just a little bit. Pamela would be all over us right about now. But the opportunity, because it's critical to invest the time. If you're really ready in a position to take flight, to elevate, it starts with what your beliefs are, your belief system. And it's not just the mindset, but eradicating those old thoughts that do not align. The number one opportunity that I would say, as you determine your path going forward, is to get in touch with God's word. What does God's word say? Matthew 7 is what Rich was talking about. I thought you was talking about Matthew 16:18. Upon this rock I build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail. Okay, that's what I thought you were talking about initially, and that's what I said. But you're talking about the parable. I said story, but I meant parable of what Jesus was teaching. And I loved it. I looked it up. It's Matthew 7. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And that's the essential opportunity for us to recognize in our lives what is the premise of your belief system. And that has to be settled, because as Rich said, as if he had written this presentation himself, and as if he had received it, because this is his playground, as he said, is that we can't move forward until that is settled. The next opportunity that we introduce is the operating system. And how do you operate in life? Following that, when we have the right beliefs in place, then we can believe scriptures like 1 John 5:14. And this is the confidence that we have in him, that if we ask anything according to his will, then he heareth us. And if he hears us, then we have those petitions that we desire of him. For someone to operate in that mode, I can just go to prayer and just ask God, but I really don't believe that, Rich. I really don't have my faith settled in God. I really don't believe, I believe that he's taking care of other people, but not necessarily me. I believe that today, but tomorrow, something occurs in my life that causes me some disbelief. And so that's what we mean. And that's why we invested this much time in the belief system, because it's going to either be the strength that you need to propel forward on the operating system, or it's going to be your demise. It will not provide you the strength of a foundation to be able to elevate, because we are talking about elevation and in that path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's I keep going to analogies, and then it just changes over to the computer system. We're talking about operating system.
Keep going.
Right. Play around with that just for a moment. And for those of you that are a little more geeky, under the operating system, if I understand correctly, kind of utilizes what's kind of called the firmware that's underneath. It's like the fixed structure, and correct me if I'm wrong, or give me some grace if I'm wrong, but I think that's the way it works. And the operating system connects into that, but the operating system is what does stuff, right? And it's affected by the firmware. It's when you find things get firmware updates to change the foundational of what the operating system is built on. So we have ways of processing information. We have ways of, just think about it, the different areas, the way we deal with our finances, the way we deal with our job, the way we deal with our time management, the way we deal with relationships, and all those things are the operating system. Something comes and we find a response and determine an action based on the operating system. So that's kind of how I'm sort of understanding this and bring it along.
You are so awesome. You'd think that I sent Rich buku notes, if you will, and that more than 10 minutes before we got on air, that I sent him the brief notes that I did that just said the acronym, born identity, belief systems, operating system, regulating system, and navigating system. Because the way that you're flowing with this is so outstanding. Operating system is just that. And how we operate, even in business, you named several opportunities there, but the one that I'm going to highlight today is business. Some people want and say that they have a desire to experience greater success in business. I'm sorry, guys, I got a lot of noise around me. Bear with me 1 second, please.
I'll pick up. Meanwhile,
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Staring at Beth's
Thank
chair
you.
here, that the operating system is so important in this management of things. You're talking about business. We're talking about operating system in business. So what were you going? Where were you going with that, Beth?
Right, right. Because the situation that you are faced with is that, where do I go from here? We're talking about the path moving forward, elevated. And I want to do greater business than I've done last year. I want to do greater business this year than I've done last year, that I did last year. So the opportunity, if that structure is not in place through my belief system, then that is going to hinder any progress that I would make. Right?
Right. The operating system is only going to perform to the level that it's been generated in processing.
I'm sorry. Can I ask you to just a little bit? Thank you.
You got to mute yourself too, Beth.
Oh, sorry.
Couldn't see you, but we could hear you. At least you weren't cussing them out. That's good.
I've been twice, but a different group came. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. Sorry.
The operating system is how things are working. And I think it can be very functional when you think of business operating systems. But we're coming in at times, business consultants and things can come in and evaluate the operating system and say, wait a second, this isn't that as efficient as it could be. And the business may have to look at, wait, what did we establish this on? Well, we were established in this method of thinking, developed this operating system out of it. And that operating system has been okay until we're trying to do now this, or we have a larger orders need to process, or we have a greater staff, or greater of things, or we're elevating in our business. Well, now we have to look maybe at the operating system not being as beneficial and productive as it needs to be, that we would want it to be.
One of the things that I want to highlight in the operating system is, how do you respond to obedience to the word of God? What is your opportunity for taking leaps of faith? If God says in my belief system that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, that he's called me to be the head and not the tail, above only and never beneath, do I approach business from that? How do I operate according to the word of God that is in my belief system? What is my opportunity is it opportunity or opposition that causes me to move? When I have an opposition happen in my life, when something's opposing me in my business, or if something looks like it's a matter of an issue, do I respond seeing opportunity, or do I see opposition? Is it an opportunity for God to move and to not cause me to be stagnant in business, or is it I'm opposed and so I just shut down and I don't move forward? This can impede your progress to experience elevation, because the thing that Pamela, the way she put it to us, right, for business is, how will you pursue your path? Will you pursue, this is where the rubber meets the road. Rich, we're always talking about our experiences out of my quality experience with master black belt courses and black belt certifications. With improving things in quality, you have to have as evidenced by. Once you've settled those beliefs, when you go to operating system, how you propel forward, what your beliefs is going to be told in the operating realm. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say is, right, okay, is how I operate is going to, let me just rephrase it. What I believe is going to dictate how I operate. Okay. And what I do next is going to substantiate the belief. Okay.
For sure. And we probably need to rip through these last two. Unfortunately, it's time's cruising along here. We're definitely emphasizing the belief in operating systems for certain. They got what? Regulating and navigating.
Regulated. This
That.
is the discipline opportunity. Regulating. What is your regiment? This is an opportunity for what are your habits look like? The habits that you form, because we say we want more of something, but we're not disciplined towards putting the work in. You know, there's an opportunity. There are books out there that God has put on your heart. Listen, I'm right here. But sometimes you got to let a little sleep go and get your sleep in, but not cuddle up with the blanket because it looks like it's going to rain today. And I'm talking to me, if anybody's wondering. You know, you got to come out here, or you got to, if you cuddle with the blanket, make sure that you're reading something that's going to edify you, and that you're not spending a lot of time with television and things that are not going to grow you. You know, what are the opportunities for you to regiment, to get on a regular diet, perhaps? You know, I'm telling you, it's taken me 63, almost headed towards 64 now, years to say, I can't have it because I want it all the time. I can because God made all things, but everything isn't good for me to have ice cream every day, you know? And maybe there's an opportunity for a regiment to come into play. In the regulating systems, we come in and we talk about relationships, opportunities for who has God assigned to you. Sometimes we are identifying with people and trying to get to know them, and they're not who God assigned for us to really move forward with. You know, we're to pray and love everyone, but the opportunity for collaborations is not with everyone you just meet. They shouldn't be embraced immediately as your new best friends. You know, Rich, and from your coach, your counseling opportunities, for what in a general broad, are most things often driven by how relationships, people are in relationship with other people, and maybe our expectations are greater for someone in relationship, causing a lot of problems? Do relationships, are they high on the list of issues with some of your clients?
I think they're pretty much the primary thing we have to look at, regardless of what the presenting thing may be. The relationships build a lot of our understanding. We're going back to that belief system again. Relationships influenced us, but then we often have challenges on the relationships we're interacting with now because of some of that belief and operating systems driving the regulation systems, and what our emotions, what our expectations, what level of communication we have, how do we control, regulate that so the supply is equal to the demand, going both ways, right? And sometimes that's very difficult to do, and I love you're regulating in other ways as well. The time you're investing, one of the things you mentioned, diet, one of the things what we look at too in regulating is self, modern terms, kind of self-care, and regulating in that area too, as well as you need to care for yourself. Maybe cuddling with a blanket, one side could be avoiding, on another side that could be nurturing, depending on what you're using it, right, and when you're using it, being able to
Good. I like
monitor
that.
that. And it is, you can look at and say, wow, well, what am I doing quantity wise, right? Regulating is kind of quantity, operation is procedures, and beliefs is kind of principles, right? We could put it that way.
Love it.
Right. So quantity, looking at that for regulating, how much of time are we spending on the different areas, how much money are we spending in different areas, effort, emotions, relationships. A lot of people get themselves in trouble, or a lot of the trouble people get themselves in is their expectations in relationships, whether it's personal or business. I mean, people sign up for something, so to speak, in a relationship, and they on the front side kind of agree to take it, like you take a job, but then you may start complaining about some of the things in the job that if you step back and look at it, you signed up for the job, right? So regulating what you're doing, I can't remember exactly where I was going with that now, but following, I need to recognize what I'm subjecting myself to and own that, rather than just saying somebody else's regulations, it's off and I deserve something different.
The other thing that you're bringing to my mind that I started to say earlier is challenges. And I just wanted to put challenging in relationships being a primary for what you
for
see.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, and I think I mentioned earlier, and you repeated, the expectations that we have in people. But then what you just brought to mind is, we'll go easy. It's always an opportunity to excuse self.
Can
And
be, for sure.
Yeah.
It can be either.
Yeah.
We go one
Yeah.
extreme or the other. We excuse ourselves, or we blame ourselves.
One or the other. It's I mean, it's just like, maybe if I give myself this particular allowance, and then, either I'm beating myself up about it, and when we stay there too long, we beat ourselves up too long. Listen, I remember once I was having a matter and I did something, and I didn't do the best. God wasn't glorified in that thing. And I corrected it. I apologized, but I kept beating myself up about it. And I was telling Jessica, she's like, Mom, really, really, number one, she said, it wasn't as bad as you think it is, because we're always harder on ourselves, aren't we? And she said, and then the other thing, you've done what you're supposed to do. You repented, you apologized, and you got to move forward. And the thing that we have in the regulating system that we also is to give ourselves an allowance for being human. Okay, we are. And so, and I know we've got to finish this up real quick. Navigating system. If we can make it to this point, there are opportunities still for taking that leap of faith, experience greater elevation, knocking on doors that you wouldn't ordinarily, or in your natural, hear me, natural, feel as if you were qualified to be able to do that. Once we actually revamp our systems, our belief systems, operating system, regulating systems, and navigating system, we have greater opportunity to experience newness and freshness, and to go places that we never dreamed that we could possibly go. Why? Because I'm thinking different. I'm doing differently. I'm holding myself accountable differently, and others, and other opportunities. And that regulated, Rich just even gave me some more opportunities and ideas of how to expand on that in my writing. And then the navigating is all about the actions that you take, and making sure that those beliefs are based upon what God has said, because we did that work, we put that work in. Now, don't question them at this point. At this point, it's an opportunity to make sure that we're acknowledging Him in everything we're doing. And then it brings us back to the 1 John 5:14. And this is the confidence that we have in ourselves. No, see, that's where it gets twisted, that we have in Him. That if we ask, that's the part we play, we ask anything, not some things, not a few things, anything according to His will, that He hears us. Sometimes we brush over according to His will, but we have to make sure that it's aligning with His will. See, what I want you to know, and in closure here, is that God wants to elevate you. He said these things and greater when Jesus was leaving us. It's Right. We were born for this, if you will, pun intended. We were born for this. We were born for greater. It's a great opportunity to allow God to receive the glory, because what God said in his word is that we would go from glory to glory. The situation is what happens in between those glories gets us stuck. And that's why we have to develop the born identity system as an integral part of who we are and what we do. Anything else, Rich? How are we doing?
I could talk about this for a while when I'm looking at the clock, and there isn't a whole lot of time. One of the things that's coming to mind is the word system, and recognize system is a organization of activities, process, right, steps that you put something in. There's input, and then the
methodology
does something to it, and then there's a outcome typically, or there's a methodology or something. So keep in mind there's a belief system, and organization, operation. There we go. Operation system. I think that's the easy way to view it. But regulating as well, as it's kind of coming through a valve, and you're adjusting what the flow is through it, and the regulating system is determined by the whatever control is adjusting the flow. And then the navigating system, right, that's still, like, you're going to navigate something. Your GPS is an example. It's taking in data, right, and regulating the flow, and it has a particular operation, and has a particular belief that it's based on. That navigating system is determining what direction you're in. It's evaluating how close and accurate are my directions in my steps. Steps are more operation, more direction. Navigate, how do I get where I need to go? And maybe some of that is off. So it's just evaluating that along the way. That maybe parts of our system that describes how we're going. If you look at navigating systems, I think on an airplane, there's a whole lot of data that's coming in: elevation, speed, direction, and it's telling the plane where to go, and it has to be extremely accurate. If you think about kind of landing on a dot on a giant map, and it's going to put it within feet, probably is an accurate thing of where it needs to be. It takes a lot of data. But you mess up any part of that, or have any part of that system not working correctly, it's probably going to have you going in a slightly different direction than where you'd like.
This is so good, and I know we've got to close, but you're saying exactly what I think that our attendees need to hear. At any point, go evaluate which system is causing the issue at the moment. It may be the belief. It may be all the way up and right at regulating. There's something that needs to be regulated in order for this navigation to happen the way, okay, I'm showing up, I'm going the places that I need to go. I'm navigating in the sense of taking the action and acknowledging God is my fuel for my opportunities to navigate on a greater level for my elevation. But yet, have I operated the way that I needed to? So the opportunity to get a tune-up, if you will, on any system to determine where they're not in sync. Is that okay to say it like that, Rich?
Sure, yeah. When you think of systems, then I start going automotive, because the car is composed of a bunch of systems. And any of those systems affect the performance of it and can have issues. Right, lights come on, and it could be ABS, could be check engine, could be the brake. Lots of different things that they're they're different systems as much as people may not understand cars. This
Right,
both are
right.
different systems, and each one of those needs to be evaluated, maintained, repaired as we go forward with it.
Excellent. And even with the presentation, I had 2 weeks to roll that out. I did a study on system with the ladies to understand systems and what that really means and the methodology piece of that, the process. So listen, thank you guys for joining us today. This has been a wonderful opportunity to talk about your path for elevation. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and you gleaned some things out of it. Those of you that joined on Facebook Live, and hope perhaps those that watch the replay, let us know what you think about this, and maybe we'll revisit it again sometime down the road. This has been outstanding. Thank you for joining us. Visit our website, gcbnetwork.com. Great opportunities to get involved, become a member, undergird our opportunities here of putting God back in business. I'm so thankful for our Take Charge Tuesday platform next week. Crystal Parker, we're going to do a replay. It's a Memorial Day weekend. We hope you have an outstanding weekend of celebration with your family and get some rest in there. A great opportunity this Friday for a noon nugget. Check us out. Visit our website. Great opportunities there. Don't forget about God Golfing Girls. Lisa put that over there in the Facebook group. Listen, we're putting God back in business, and we need your help. And more people need to know about Georgia Christian Business Network. And in order to spread the word, we need to ask you to like us on Facebook, share our sessions from Wellness Wednesday and Take Charge Tuesday. Invite your network to become familiar and friend us, and to visit our website, and even to join us. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Pamela, we missed you today. Rich, you're awesome as always.
Well,
God bless you. And listen, tell your wife she needs to connect with me. I need to get on Take Charge Tuesday. We need to do some stuff. Okay. All right. Take care.
See you.
God bless
Bye.
you. Bye bye now.